boy. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Facebook and YouTube Live. Trying to get the shirt together. You know what time it is. It's time for the dialogue. Dialogue with Dozie. And you got your boy Dozie himself. Kim is under the weather, so I'm flying solo tonight. Not really solo, because you who've seen the poster know that we got a guest of guests tonight. I am not so excited. I am too excited. I can hardly contain myself tonight. We got the legendary Broward County coach, plantation colonel himself, plantation coach. Let's just bring him on. Coach Hepler, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Dozie. Man, so proud to be asked to come on with you, a legend at Plantation. So,
no, I'm talking to the legend. I got so many stories that I can tell as a parent, as a football fan, and then as a colleague, and then as a friend, as a brother. And we're gonna come on, but I just want everybody to just look how we are doing. We got on this red and white. We got on this plantation. We got this plantation colonel thing going. Yeah. Everybody, listen, y'all. Ely Tigers, especially you Piper Bengals, and everybody else. Don't hate. Congratulate one of the most winningest coaches in the history of Broward County, Coach Frank Hepler. We're going to talk plantation football. We're going to talk high school football, high school athletics. And then we're going to just look at the national picture sometime maybe on the other side of the half hour. But I just can't wait to get into it. Coach, again, thank you for joining us today. Tell us what was your tenure at the time of your tenure at a plantation?
I tell you, it went all the way back to 1983. I started coaching. I got done playing college football, and my old coach, Don Gatewood, was an assistant there, and John Barrett was the head coach. And I came in and started coaching JV football, moved up to varsity within a couple of years. A gentleman named Scott Walker came in as the head coach, did a great job. He was there for about 3 or 4 years. And then in 91, I became the head coach. And from 91 to 2005, I was the head coach at Plantation. Well, I was also a student there. I started high school in 1976 as a 9th grader and then graduated in 1980. So was in the hallways and on the sidelines at Plantation High for a long time. Saw a lot of great players, saw a lot of great coaches, great families. What a blessing it was to be at Plantation High. And we had a great run. And again, you don't have great runs without great kids and great admin and great families to be there and help support you. So just a blessing to be there in that time. And it was an honor, and I'm still a big Plantation Colonel fan.
So, Coach, you are. I know you're an humble man, and I know this is going to be like pulling teeth from a rattlesnake. But I'm going to ask you anyway. What was your winning percentage at Plant?
We and I only know this because when we got up into Georgia, we had a chance to win our 200th game. So I had to go back and look everything up. At Plantation, in those 14 years, we were 135-30.
Oh my gosh!
With 10 district championships and 5 undefeated regular seasons. We weren't. I wasn't good enough coach to go undefeated all the way to the state final, but we had 5 undefeated regular seasons, and at one stretch, Dozie, we had a 49-1 regular season mark. And during that time we went to the top 8 in the state each year and just couldn't get to that, dream of a semifinal or final. But we won a lot of games and had a lot of kids get into college under our leadership. So I was again blessed to be with so many good kids and so many good families.
So I'm gonna talk. There's so many stories, and it's funny. I was only with you 2 years. Our son went over there as a junior, and there's so many stories that I saw in those 2 years that just left an indelible imprint on me. But as I was just sharing with Coach, he probably never knew that I saw this. I happened to have been in the school one day. I think it was during our kids' junior year. And it was during recruitment time. And I saw Coach Hepler, and this is after when we talked to him about our son going over there, and I was charged by the committee of one, being Mrs. Varner, to have a conversation with the coach. And I said, listen, my son wants to go to Morehouse. We just not too long ago went on a college tour, and you think you can help him get into Morehouse? She said, I can definitely get him into Morehouse, but there's far higher that we can do with him, and that's exactly what you all did, and I'm so grateful. But I saw Coach Hepler while I was in the office one day. He was hustling back and forth to the back, and you all didn't have the facilities that we have now. I remember that swimming pool you all had for a weight room and a dressing room out there, but we called it because it rained. But you were going back and forth, getting records, I think, from your office or somewhere, and coming back to the office, making copies, faxing records off to recruits. Now we got email to do that. But you were doing that, and I sat there and I said, man, this is a man of his word. I'm getting to see him do just what he said he'd do. So it just went so much further than the what you did on the field. What was one of the secrets, Coach? I'm not a mathematician, and I haven't done the 135 and 30 yet. Madam Producer, can you give us a winning percentage on that, please, ma'am? That's got to be, it's got to be 90% or somewhere there. But what was the secret to the continual success, Coach? I mean, continual success.
Well, you know, all those years ago, I look back, and now the Miami Heat, really use the mantra of the culture, the Heat culture. We were lucky early on to get a bunch of kids to buy in to working out in that weight room, which was rusty, old, broken down, kind of old school mentality. And, the first 2 years, 91 and 92, 91, we were 7-3, and we knocked off a couple of good teams. We beat South Plantation for the first time in a long time. And then 92, the next year, we go 5-5. We were 3-5 with the last two games, and we kind of had, a team meeting at the end and said, look, guys, this is the turning point in our program. And we turned around and beat a good Miramar team and then beat South Plantation again to go 5-5. And those kids coming back, we had a fairly young team. They said, Coach, we haven't been in the playoffs. We want to be in the playoffs. And right there, that culture started of the kids really buying into that weight room, even though it was rusty and dirty. And like you said, when it rained, it would flood in that room. And only people like yourself that had seen that really know what and how hard those kids worked because of the conditions that they had. But from that point on, we lost very few games, and those kids outworked all our opponents. I was lucky to hire some good coaches that came in and started working with our guys. And my philosophy on coaches were always hire guys that were smarter than I was. I wanted to be the dumbest guy in the room, and got great coaches along with great kids. And the culture just changed. They just worked so hard, Dozell. And we lost to Boyd Anderson in a first round playoff game in 93, close game. We lost to him early in the season and then came back and lost like 18-13 in the first round. And those kids, they were kind of young, so they're getting a year older. We come back in 94, we knock off a good Stoneman Douglas team and then go up to Vero Beach, state traditional power. And man, we play them tooth and nail right down to the end. They have to throw a touchdown pass with like time running out to beat us 28-21. And we were picked to lose by like 40. And the kids said, man, we can play with anybody. And the next year, 95, we go 10-0. We knock off Ugali team that was ranked number 1 or 2 in the state. We knocked off a Dan Morgan team that, Dan Morgan was All-American at University of Miami and with the Carolina Panthers. And he was the leading rusher. And Kevin McKenzie, I thought, kind of got, messed over a little bit. They named him and Dan Morgan co-players of the year, where Kevin McKenzie, Smiley, as the kids talked about him back then, he was really the greatest back that we had at that time at Plantation, and went off and was excuse me, a Division II All-American. He was a young man that had come from the islands and was behind academically, and my wife helped with him and kind of taught him, some things as far as just catching up. And so he had to go junior college and then Division II, but he made the most of it and did a great job. So we lose to a Miami Northwestern team that was led by Snoop Menace. Yeah. And then the linebacker that was so darn good. I thought I was going to do good remembering names tonight, but that darn kid made like 50 tackles, it seemed like, and we lost 12-7 at Lockhart in front of about 20,000 people. And we ended up 12-1 that year, but it was one heck of, now you want to talk about here I am. I'm this guy from Plantation, still learning my way through. Now I grew up in Sunrise. I thought I came from a tough area, and I was a tough guy growing up and stuff. And boy, Northwestern got off the bus and the moms were yelling at us like, "We're going to kick your butt." And I was like, "Oh boy." But, that was a great experience. And then through the years, and like I said, we went to the third round kind of, a lot, I think 8 or 9 times in my career at Plantation, and got knocked off. And it seemed like a Miami team would get us. We would beat a Miami Central in the first or second round, and then have to try to play Carroll City or Northwestern. Well, the teams in Dade County don't go undefeated. That's such a tough, back then anyways. Yeah. For us to try to win 4 or 5 games in a row was just hard. And I kind of got the knack that, well, he can't beat a Miami team. Well, we beat a lot of Miami teams. It just happened to be we'd get through those darn playoffs, and our guys would give everything they had, and we just were beat up. And come week 3 or 4, we just couldn't get that next. Had we been 6A or 5A like St. Thomas was, we'd have had 4 or 5 state championships to speak of. But it just the way it was.
Yeah. So I picked up 3 quick stories on foot. You're talking about Dade County and Miami. Let me just get the first one out. Miami Northwestern, we know Teddy Bridgewater's first year hero, played with the Vikings and went on and played otherwise after being injured. He retired probably prematurely from the NFL. He just went back to Northwestern, and in his first year led them to a title. He's now playing with the Detroit Lions. They'll be playing this weekend, Saturday, I think, as a backup quarterback. I was talking to, I'm not going to call the name, but I was talking to a young man out of Jacksonville who is Range. Jacksonville Rangers was a power. I grew up in Jacksonville.
Right.
Rangers was under the legendary Jimmy Johnson. They were always beating everybody, and then they get to the playoffs and have the same troubles. I don't think they went as far as we did, but there was all this excitement about Reigns, and from a distance, yeah, that's Duval. I'm cheering them on too. And then I saw they were running to Northwestern, and the day of the game, I said, I think we were on. Well, anyway, somewhere around there, I said to this young man, he said, "Listen, man." He said, they're ready to win this. I said, "Y'all know who y'all playing, man? Y'all playing Northwestern." He said, "Yeah, man." He said, "But you don't know about us. Reigns and Rebound is combined now because they've combined because Rebound was torn down while they rebuild a new school on that site. So everybody's going to Reigns now." I say that's good. That means you got probably the best of Northwest Jacksonville, probably the best of Jacksonville, best of North Florida. But you're playing Northwestern, Miami and Northwestern. Yeah, but we're ready for them this year. I said, let me explain to you. There's something about that Dade County line. There's something about that line. Everybody I've talked to tells me it's that these guys are so invested because they're doing everything in their power to run out of Dade. They're trying to get out of it. So you're going down to a buzzsaw. Well, we didn't talk much after the game. I think Northwestern beat them something like 34-0. Yeah. And their backups played the second quarter. When there's a mentality, I know there's a mentality. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time energizing Dade County because we're going to beat them at some point. They go into that for the title because it's like the last round before the title game. Right. I was a policeman, and I made my little mark as a basketball player in the police Olympics. And they made a way for Dade County correctional officers to participate, well, for correctional officers across the state to participate in police Olympics. So we had gotten past the team, they call them combined units, and what they had was a lot. If your department is small enough, you can combine teams. So they would deputize University of Florida basketball players. And at that time, they were 6'8", 6'9", but they had no lift. They couldn't jump. And I could jump out the gym. So we beat them. So we're getting ready to play right here in Fort Lauderdale. As a matter of fact, and I was a policeman in Central Florida. We're getting ready to play what did they call them? The Windjammers. The Windjammers. I don't know, probably some of those kids went to Northwestern and all, and they were an Asian team, but they were the best athletes in Dade County of old school. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about the intimidation of mothers hollering at you getting off the bus, these guys would they would come out and these ladies would have synchronized ghetto blasters, and they pop in there in the gym, and they were just so. One of the guys called me Charlie Chan. I mean, they would do everything to intimidate. My dad's ex-Marine, so you weren't going to intimidate me so easily. Right. And I did not know about how Dade County's reputation, but it's a different mentality. And hats off to them. They always rise. But we're going to get them one day. We're going to get to them by way of beating a St. Thomas type team. Or right now we're in the division with American Heritage. We're going to knock off one of these prized private schools to get where we want to go. So exactly. Yeah, Coach, tell us about. I came on your last 2 years where we lost. I think we were 9-1. Dillard upset us, and we hosted Carroll City, that team who probably could have beat the Super Bowl champions that year because they had all-world Willie Williams, linebacker, in whatever you wanted to make him, wherever you wanted to play him. And that was the first time I'd ever seen anybody handle Darryl Strong. And they threw him around like a paper doll because they were so big and strong themselves. And we lost to them. Then the next year, I think we really thought we were on our way. And that was when Black was playing quarterback, and which was your last year. And I think we may have been undefeated that year, and Northwestern kind of upset us that year. Yeah. What is it like coming back in 04? Yeah. How do you motivate the boys and get them reinvigorated after these tough losses like this?
Well, again, that's part of that culture, believing in what we're doing and working hard and seeing the effects of your hard work, seeing it happen on the field. And it was tough. That was a hard thing. Jimmy Johnson said it in the NFL, only one team wins their last game of the season. And, I know in high school it's different. You got 7 levels or 8 levels, depending on what, where you're ranked. But within your division, only one team wins that last game when you're in the playoffs. So it's hard to motivate them again. But again, we were lucky. I think my mantra with the kids were, look, I'm going to be as honest and as blunt as I can. And with you coming in and watching me do paperwork and things like that, you're not only going to hear my words, you're going to see my words. And I'm going to do everything I can to show you I believe in you, and I need you to believe in me, that we'll do everything we can. And together we will win or we will lose. I used to tell them that the scoreboard to me really doesn't matter. There's so many other things in life that I want to hopefully teach you by being in our program, that at the end of the night, we'll look at the scoreboard. And if the scoreboard's in our favor, then we're blessed to have that win. But if not, then we're going to learn other things from it. We're going to learn about our defense, about our offense. And, if we can keep winning that last game, then we'll keep, improving on what we've learned. So we didn't always win that last game. Like I said, I wish we had had that opportunity to go all the way. But I think the kids saw that in me and my other coaches, that everything we tell you is going to be what we're going to do. We're going to be honest with you. We're going to try to be upfront with you. If you're dogging it, we're going to tell you you're dogging it. But how we told you you're dogging it was different. I didn't like how I was coached in the 70s, where you were kind of yelled and screamed at and, called soft and all this other stuff if you weren't. Now there's motivation in some of that. I mean, it motivated me, but I also wanted to motivate the kids in that, hey, I believe in you. I believe in you. I'm your biggest fan. Also, if you're not getting the job done, there's a reason why. Let's find out why. I put it on me a lot of times. I always said if a math teacher has kids scoring 50% every test, that's the math teacher's problem. It's not the kids. The kids aren't dumb. So I looked at it as if we're not being successful, that's on me. I want to know why are my kids not, I'm going to give you the answers all week long to the test. We're going to look at Northwestern. We're going to look at Carroll City. We're going to look at Dillard, and we're going to study them, and we're going to practice them. And at the end of the night, if we don't have success on that scoreboard, I look at Frank Hepler. What did I do wrong? I was never an academic teacher. I was PE, driver's ed, health, but I still taught my classes the same way. If my kids are failing, so many people in our society are quick to say, oh, those kids are just dumb. They can't learn. No, I blame the teacher. And if kids weren't learning, I blame myself. In football, I really, I wouldn't hire a guy that liked to come in and go, oh, that kid just sucks. Excuse my language. He said, but that kid's just terrible. Hey, you know what? You have no part of my staff. We were about being positive. We were about getting the kids to buy in and believe in what we, stood for. And I think it worked pretty good. And we took that up to Georgia with a school that they had never won anything up there. In the first year, we were 9-1 and knocked off teams out of Gwinnett County that were like, who the heck are these guys?
Wow.
And we can talk about that later, but we played against a lot of great people, just like we did in Broward. We had so many great kids, gosh, and Dozie, that was a big part of it. That I can sit here and give you a coaching clinic about what I did, but I didn't. Heck, I had great players. I had so many great players. You start thinking about the Kevin Beards and the Ryan Schneiders and the Jeff Owens and there's so many. I could just keep going. Your son was a great player for us. So many great guys. And again, I was blessed to take that ride with him, man. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Well, Coach, you know what? So talking about great players, and listen, if you're watching this show, share it, tag it, tell somebody about it, tell somebody they missed an exciting 20 minutes already. Go back and look at these 20 minutes, Facebook, YouTube. We want you to enjoy this show. Tell friends about it during the week. We're going to talk a little bit more about some national sports happenings. But for right now, Coach Hepler is you're talking about great kids. I want to share a story with you. It's full of stories, but we came down in '98 and we went and I'm trying, and please help. Dozie and I were trying, even as late as last night, trying to say, where was the game played between us and Northwestern? It wasn't Trash Power. It was Ryan's senior year. And you guys fought back and they kind of took the game away in like the last quarter.
Yeah, that wasn't Trash Power.
That was trash. Okay.
And Trash Power back then was grass, if you want to call it that. I mean, as kids who were growing up in Sunrise, we used to play at this church right there on Sunset Strip, and it was full of stickers. Well, that's the way that field was. We showed at Miami Northwestern. It was all lined. It had 2 lines for the goal line. Trash Powell was a mess back then. But, yeah, we played. Now, that team, that Northwestern team, they were loaded just like that Carroll City team. I was going to tell you, that Carroll City team had Kenny Phillips on it that played for the U and then played at the Giants all those years. About 9 of those 11 defensive kids were Division I, and about 8 of them played in the NFL. But same with that Miami Northwestern, the wideout that went to Pitt and was a Blitnikoff winner. Their quarterback was good. Torrey Cox, the running back.
Right.
The big offensive lineman that played at the University of Miami was about a 10 or 12-year NFL player. The two outside linebackers that played on that team for Miami Northwestern. Yeah, I think that it was 24-21 at halftime, and the state police guys, the Dade County guys, came in the locker room and says, "Coach, now it looks like you guys are coming back, and you may win this game. We're going to take you out the back." I'm like, wow, what's if we win the game, man, we're celebrating. He goes, "No, you win this game, you get the boys on the bus, and we're getting out of here." And I said, okay, I understand. But yeah, that was the game. We were back and forth. Kevin would score, Ryan would throw a touchdown. They'd come back and score. And I think it ended up about 45-31, something like that. We just didn't have enough down the end. We actually dropped the ball in the end zone, like on 4th down. That was going to get us within a score. And we didn't end up time. We just didn't have the time to stop them. But that was a great game.
Was Otis Reagan on that team, or was he before that?
No, Otis was a little bit younger. Otis was.
Oh, he was younger. Okay.
Yeah. Now Otis graduated in '94. He was on that '93 team that went in and beat Douglas, and then went up to Vero Beach. And I tell you, Otis was a big part of the reason why we beat Stoneman Douglas.
He should be a head coach in Broward County.
Definitely. He got the kids. Coach, the guys up at Douglas kind of made a remark about, man, plantation's nothing. They're just a bunch of Indians. Wow. And I'm like, Indians? What are you talking about our guys like that for? Well, Otis got all the guys together, and they face painted. They painted. I get on the bus. They all got their helmets on. So we get to the game. And I go, Otis, come here. Yes, sir. I said, what's going on? He goes, Coach. He goes, they want to call us Indians. We're going to be Indians. And all the boys had face paint. And, man, Dozie, we went out and we whooped Douglas like it was nothing. Like 35-3. And they had beat us early in the year in overtime.
But he never told me that story. I got to tell you about that. Coach, and we're hustling into break. But just another quick story heading in the break. So before I, knew about plantation, my kid was in elementary school. Friday night was Daddy Dozie bonding time, and I would take him to. We go to a football game, and so once we heard about Dillard and the legend of Dillard and all of that, because I heard about it from Jacksonville, we started going to their games. They were playing all of them at Lockhart, and one night we're in the stands. And this comedy show breaks out like two rows in front of us. I mean, every play, these guys found a way to turn it into a joke, or they just told a joke. It was absolutely, we were sitting there. It came to a point we couldn't even watch the game. We were just crying, laughing at these jokes. After a while, at halftime, this kid gets up, and you coached him. He gets up, he says, ladies and gentlemen, that's Dan Morgan. I'm Al Blaze. We're headed to the University of Miami. And everybody, the whole area just clapped around. It was absolutely hilarious. And you coached Al, so you knew he was quite the character.
Oh, Al, I cherish Al. He was second to none. He was just, what a great young man. We lost a good one when we lost Al. Man, what a great young man. He just, good character. There were some people that, that Al Blades, we don't like him. Because they knew him on the field. They saw his aggression and how hard he played. Well, if you knew Al Blades off the field, one, you knew he was a great young man. And two, if you knew him on the field, you loved him because that guy, he was not going to lose. He did not want to lose to anybody. He worked extremely hard to get to the University of Miami. His brothers had gone there, of course, Benny and Brian, and he wanted to be there. And, he came to us from Coral Springs. And there was some people there that said, well, he'll never be what Benny and Brian were. And, he came and worked and worked and worked. And, he went home, and it was tough to lose him. But he would have been probably a 10 or 12-year all-pro player.
Yeah, he was
awesome.
We're going to go to break, and we're going to come right back. And we're going to break. We'll be right back. Thank you, awesome. Coach.
Yes, sir.
One of the reasons you tune in on Monday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Monday night to look at Dialogue with Dozie is because of the excellent production work that you just saw by GoGigaWorld.com. Listen, they make a fella like me look good. Imagine what they'll do for you. You don't have the issues that I have. They make me look good. They are fantastic. You saw some of the celebrities who they produce. They're just absolutely awesome. I sit here during the break while the music's playing, when the intro, the outro is playing. I'm so glad Coach had stepped away from the camera, because I was just jamming away. We do that. And Madam Producer says that she's going to record that and show some of our greatest hits. When Kim and I are together, we just have a great, that's part of the work that they do. They know how to market you. They know how to do the web building. GoGigaWorld.com. Get that in your GoGigaWorld.com. All of your virtual needs, they got them, and they do them to the best. So listen, I said when Madam Producer, who happens to be one of my offsprings, the first one in fact, said, Dad, is there a dang dog tonight? Are you serious? Is there a shout out tonight? I said, no, I'm going to just kind of stick with the script with sports with Coach Hepler. And I'm going to get right back to it. But there are two things that I want to address. I want to address two things, and then I'll be through. The first thing is this. Next Monday night is a very, very important night historically. Next Monday night. Very, very important day. But it's not why you think it is. Nope. It's because it's Martin Luther King's holiday. That's why we're saying it's an important day. Madam Producer was just a I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 6 years old when the very first Martin Luther King's holiday was celebrated. We were living in Central Florida at the time, and I had her and she and her sister sit down and look at all of the celebrations across not only America, but the world, because of that great leader and what he meant, not only to minorities and as they call us back then, colored people and poor people, but what the hope that he gave to many people. And so many of us think that the reason he, in fact, was killed was not an issue of racial prejudice, but he was killed because he became an active advocate for us to get out of the Vietnam War. And he was bringing a lot of affluent white kids under his influence. And that's why we think that, it may James Earl Ray was just a puppet and used by you draw the line. So next Monday night, yeah, it's a presidential inauguration. Amen. But we're going to continue to celebrate Dr. King. Now, the second thing I want to say about that, it is a presidential inauguration. And November the 6th, the day after the presidential election, when a lot of people who look like me were hurt and expressed their hurt, I started seeing everything on social media, and people call it Black Monday. And they came up with all of these protest suggestions. Don't spend any money. Don't do this. Don't do that. And originally my mindset was, yeah, rah, rah, rah. And then I got to thinking, this guy was elected by a duly, he was elected by a system that we all have grown to love, accept in this nation. It was what we would call a fair election. And in order for us to be, for people who probably did not vote for him, in order for us to show that we are true Americans, and just because you lost an election, you don't say the election was stolen, and you don't cause an insurrection at the Capitol, and you don't cause people to lose their lives and their jobs. We're gonna be big people. And I'm not saying go and put one of those red and white banners. I'm not going to even call a name. I'm not saying that's what you want to do. That's up to you. But I'm saying accept the fact that this is the nation that we live in. This is the system we live under. We accept it. Just work harder to make changes in the future. Okay? Thank you. Now, the next thing I want to talk about on our way back to Coach Hepler is all of our hearts and prayers are going out to the people in Southern California, Los Angeles. I have 3 cousins right off the bat that are right in that area. And our hearts and our prayers go out to those people and what they're enduring. They not only, as I said after church yesterday, they not only lost their homes, they lost everything in their homes, but more than those material possessions that they lost years and years and generations of memories and love that occurred in those homes. So we want to keep them lifted up. And this is my social commentary. I got a whiff the day that hedge funders would be trying to buy out, because there were several minority communities. They were already trying to offer pennies on the dollars to buy the land from people. And I heard one sister say, we're not going to do that, because they're not going to hedge fund this and then make this a billionaires club, raise the prices for our land to where only the millionaires and the billionaires can afford it. And then there's a shift in politics and everything else in a very prized state, just like Florida has turned and Texas turned a while ago. That's their desire for Texas, for California. So, hey, kudos to everybody, but forgetting the politics, forgetting all of that, we're just letting you know that we love you and our prayers go out to you. And we wish a speedy recovery, a speedy rebuild. Hey, we're supporting Build Back Better. The Red Cross and other places are accepting funds to help this process, and we're asking you to be a part. Denzel Washington, if it's true, is donating $50 million. Denzel is not a billionaire. He's not even halfway to being a billionaire. $50 million is quite a bit of money. And if that's true, that's so awesome. Okay, so just remember that. Coach Hepler, back at it. Coach, very quickly, could you tell us how your coaching career ended up? And then we're going to talk a little bit about the league.
Yeah. Dozo, can I first say, though,
Yes.
Thank you for bringing up those 4 points. That was beautiful. Talking about Martin Luther King, talking about our politics, talking about what's going on in LA. Thank you so much. That was such on point. That I love that. And I'm a little bit nervous about what's going to happen with our country, but I think we have strong people, and I think we will come through this. And it was tough to see that election night, to be honest with you. And I know I've got people that in my family even that, oh no, they thought the other way. And so I thank you for that. Those are great points. And I know we've got a great country. I know we can all come together and overcome some of the things that the person who was elected. And again, I will be proud of our Americans on the day that gentleman's sworn in, that so many good people will accept it and say, okay, this is our country. We have to now work hard and get good people in there, because, man, and I'm not a politician anyway, Dozell, but I just, that was great points. And again, taking away from the politics a little bit, the people in LA, gosh, our prayers go out to them. So thank you for bringing that up. And let me talk more about what I know more about with football with you. But
thank you, Coach.
You're asking how my career ended up.
I mean, you're still in it, but I'm saying how. After you left Plantation, where I heard you make an allusion to Georgia, talk a little bit about what you've done since.
Yep, we went up to the state of Georgia, and we were located about 30 miles north of Georgia in an area that was growing and that was new, and I didn't know much about it. My daughter had gone up to watch a friend play in a tournament up there playing sports. My wife had gone up with her as her chaperone and saw this area of this beautiful lake and this, really pretty part of the country, and homes were very affordable for where we were at. She looked at the teaching salaries and the coaching salaries. And like I said, she was coming off of just being cleared as cancer-free. And I think a little bit a new lease on life. She said, hey, let's make a move for our family. And we've been at Plantation now for 25 years. We'd gone to school there even, so we were there even longer. Her dad was the principal at one time way back when at Plantation. So we were deeply into that community. So it was a tough move, but I think for my career, it was a good move just to get out and see, what can I do? I think and Plantation had obviously done well when I left. So that showed that Plantation was a great place, and I needed to go out and prove that I could do things too, on a different stage. So we went to Georgia. We were at West Forsyth High School. I was there 7 years. We were at the end of the 7 years, I think we were 59-12. We had won a region championship. And now in Georgia, there's about 12 teams in a region, and the top 4 go to the playoffs from your region. kind of like how they split the districts here, but they put the 2 districts together and call it a region, and they take the top 4 teams. Well, we won a region title twice, for region runner-up, and then a 4th time there we were 3rd place. So we went to the playoffs 5 out of the 7 years that we were at West Forsyth. 2014, my wife was really, in a tough place because her mom was dying. She had bad dementia. Her dad was there by himself. They were both in their 90s, and it was tough for anybody else in the family but her to take care of her. So she said, I need to move back to South Florida. So I said, hey, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say that family comes first and then not do it. So we packed up and came back to South Florida. And I talked to the guys at Cypress Bay and said, hey, I'll help out here. I'll just coach, and my wife can be close to her mom. And as it was in July of that summer, Pat McQuaid at Nova called me and said, Coach, we know you're in town and our head coach just left. Would you come and be the head coach at Nova? And I said, oh, man, this is going to be tough. Well, my son had been coaching some college football. I got him to come with me. I got Daryl Strong to come with me over to Nova. Daryl, of course, our relationship, as he was a player for us, and Daryl was not in teaching at the time, and he jumped at it. He said, oh, that'd be great, Coach. He was training kids and doing some things. So Daryl came in and coached our offense and our quarterbacks along with my son, and Coach Mervos was there and Coach Perry Schneider. So we had a good year. We were 5-5. We installed everything in like 2 weeks. It was amazing. Oh, wow. And we set a bunch of records on offense. I kind of switched over and did offense with those guys. I'd always been a defensive coach. And we had some kids that had some real success. And but the unfortunate thing was they put me at the bottom of the pay scale in Broward County. I went from a 27, 28-year teacher, maybe almost 30-year teacher, where my salary was pretty high. For teachers, they put me down at the bottom of the rung. I took about a $30,000 pay cut. So I had to start looking for jobs back in Georgia. And in the meantime, in August, my mother-in-law had passed away. And my wife said, okay, yeah, let's move back up to Georgia where our pay and we can afford to pay our bills again. So unfortunately, I had to leave South Florida, which it was in my heart. South Florida is so much in my heart, but we went back up, and I hooked up with Dan Kaplan. He was an assistant football coach for us for a long time at Plantation. He became athletic director at Forsyth Central High School, and I went to Forsyth Central as the head coach. And again, we had a pretty good run there. We had 5 years, got in the playoffs. They hadn't been in the playoffs in 20 years. We ended up getting a bunch of kids into college. Had a young man go play over at one of the first teams at Kennesaw. Had another young man go play at East Carolina. When we were at West Forsyth, now we had some good kids there. AJ Erdley was a quarterback. He's now the quarterback coach at Georgia Tech. He played at UAB and led UAB to 2 bowl games. Had a fullback go to Wake Forest and played fullback at Wake Forest. Had an offensive tackle go to Georgia Tech, played at Georgia Tech, and won an Orange Bowl game with Georgia Tech against Mississippi State. Wow. So we had some great players. Had outside linebacker go to Syracuse and play there. Had a running back go to Holy Cross. I again go on and on about some of these kids. Again, those kids made me look good, but some good ones.
Well, let me ask you this, Coach. Was this the gentleman that was your OC when you were at Plantation and he went to Georgia with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
and he has since gone on home, as you would say, right?
Right. Now, Coach Fuller.
Right.
Coach Bob Fuller was my offensive coordinator at Plantation, and he moved up to Georgia also. And he passed away a couple years ago. But I went to high school. I played high school football with Coach Fuller, and he went on and he coached at Plantation. He and I started at Plantation together, and he ended up leaving and going to Stoneman Douglas, and was really a great coach up there running that wing tee. And I recruited him. Finally, I got him to come back to Plantation with us. And you remember some of those games when when Dozie was there. Boy, we remember it was 48-0 at halftime against a good Boyd Anderson team.
Oh, what a monster that wing T offense. And so originally we wanted to do this right around the times of the playoffs. I wanted to get your successor Steve Davis and his successor Darryl Strong, whom you coached. And I remember saying to Coach Fuller one night after a game, I said, Coach, I hope you guys fully realize what a supreme talent you have. Because legend had it, Darryl told me this year that it wasn't true, but legend had it that Darryl could sit on the 20-yard line and throw the ball through the goalpost at the other end of the field. He said it wasn't quite from the 20, but it wasn't too far away. And it was just a pleasure watching. Oh, man. So the legend, you followed a legend in Coach Gatewood that I knew of, and then you carried on the legacy and built it to a higher height. Steve came on, and now Darryl is doing it. Just so excited. So just for future shows, we really wanted to do this about a month or so ago, but the three of them, that's why I haven't talked a whole lot about them. The three of them, I talked to both of them today. We're going to be on the 1st of September when Coach Hepler goes into the Plantation Hall of Fame, and we're going to celebrate that here on the Dialogue. And I'm going to have these three legends together, two legends, and then a legend in the making. We're going to have them on here together. I'm so excited. So, Coach, before we go, these shows are so energizing and so much fun. And tonight to get this history and to learn from a legend like you. I was amused by the fact that you say you came over to Nova and worked with the offense, because I knew all Frank Hepler did was defense. Yeah. I think that was your forte. But Coach, what do you think of? We got the playoffs going on. We got the college. How are you liking this 12-team college format?
But besides not getting in, I was bummed about that because I've always been a fan. But I thought it was good. I thought it brought a lot of excitement to college football this year. College football, I think, has some issues that they've got to, come through with the portal and NIL types of things. And I think it's all good for the kids. But I think the grown-ups in the room need to sit down and get it together a little bit. But man, I enjoyed the idea of a 12-team playoff. It made it exciting coming down the stretch. And now, the two teams, I'm not big fans of the two teams, but you know what? They made it through 3 tough weeks, and good for them.
Yeah, that Ohio State team, because Ryan Shazier, I knew Ryan before we hooked up at Plantation, but he was a Buckeye, the Bozo boys who caused us headaches all those years from over at St. Thomas. They all that Ohio State team is playing. If I've ever seen a team like they're playing on a mission, it's it. But I would love to see Notre Dame step in and maybe pull a surprise. So I'm kind of excited about next Monday night. I wonder what took them so long to pull that off, because that format seemed they came up with the idea, and in 2 years it was initiated. And I just kind of wonder what took them so long to get that off the ground.
I don't know, Dozie, because they talked about this. This has been an ongoing conversation. We were lucky enough to go to a lot of camps and colleges throughout the years. And, I've become friends with many people like Brett Bielema, who's up at Illinois now, and many guys I still stay in touch with. And, 20 years ago, we talked about putting a playoff together like this, incorporating the bowls like they did, so you don't lose the tradition of the bowls, and then come up with your final game. So I think it's been there. I think, again, it was just a matter of working out the money for TV, for the schools, the NCAA. Again, sometimes, like I said, the adults get in the way of, a good thing. And, of course, that mighty dollar, I think, has a lot to play in it. But I think they're close to getting it right. I've enjoyed it. I think 12 is a good number. Yeah. The teams that were left out, I think are going to work harder to get in. It's going to be exciting. I think now how they've seen how it works, just like 15 years ago or so when they went with the top 4, man, everybody said, okay, well, we want to get in that top 4. Now I think they want to, and I know they were all trying this year, but now they see how it works. I think it's going to be more exciting as we go.
So, Coach, we're to the divisional round in the league and the playoffs. Do you see Kansas City three-peating?
I tell you what, I think they can. Now, anybody can win. The NFL is one of those leagues where on any given Sunday, right, is what they say. But I think they're good enough to win. Now, I think Baltimore is going to have a say in it with Lamar Jackson, and he's playing tough. That darn Buffalo team, I hate Buffalo, but, they're going to have a say in it. So I think they've got, a tough road, but I think they're good enough to do it. They're built to do it. Mahomes is a great quarterback. They have a good offensive line. As long as Chris Jones is healthy on defense, I think they're going to be tough on defense. So I really believe that they've got a great chance to go all the way. It'd be kind of neat to see a three-peat. Again, I got to throw my South Florida roots in there. I want the Dolphins to get in there. I was 10 years old when they went undefeated. I was 11 in their last Super Bowl win. So I'm way too old to not have seen another Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Because last year when I'm an offensive guy at heart, and Steve and Daryl have allowed me to work well on that side of the line of the ball. So my brother called me a sellout when the Warriors were really winning. He said, "Man, you're a Miami Heat fan." I said, "Man, I love offense." So that's why I love what Andy Reid does with his play selection, his play building, with Patty Mahomes in that, being just the architect of it. I mean, just actualizing it for him. I love what I see with the offense. What do you think about the MVP race, Lamar or Josh Allen?
Well, if it's the guy that's most valuable to his team, it's got to be Lamar. Just because what he does and what's around him. I know he's got the big running back.
Yeah.
But after that, really tell me who else on their offense. It's Lamar doing it. And I also look, all right, if you don't have Lamar, is Baltimore that successful?
Right. Yeah.
I don't think so. Buffalo's got a good defense. They've got some other kids on offense, pretty good. And I'm not saying they'd have same success without Josh Allen, but I think Lamar Jackson is the next level guy. I think he deserves it. That'd be my vote.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
In the hometown has something to do with that.
A little bit, but I saw him play. My son and I, we happened to be in New Orleans on the weekend of the Sugar Bowl. And I said, we've never been to a Sugar Bowl. And for some reason, we found some inexpensive tickets. We were kind of sitting in the nosebleeds, but Louisville played Florida. And I'd seen Louisville play through the years.
Well, a Gator.
I know. And now some of my family are Gator fans, so I got to be careful. But I tell you, Louisville whooped that butt that night. And I said, Lamar is going to be a great NFL player. And he's been pretty good. So I want to pat myself on the back and say, okay, I saw him when he was.
I just never thought we'd see another Michael Vick, and he is Michael Vick 2.0.
Oh, yeah.
He's just so, Coach, the other brewing controversy, and I get you out of here, is I'm a Steeler fan. Like I started saying last year when the Chiefs were struggling, I said, okay, if my Jags make it, my Steelers, my Dolphins, I got 4 or 5. If the Cowboys make it, I'll be all right with it.
My wife would be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I can say so. Any of those teams, and I guess to come to the point now where people are questioning whether or not Mike Tomlin needs to move on. What would you say about that?
I say they're crazy. That man has done a great job at Pittsburgh. And again, go back to what the experts say. Only one team in that league wins their last game. Right. And Mike Tomlin has done a great job. And again, these pro teams are run by general managers and owners, and what he's had to deal with through the years. They didn't give him a quarterback for the last 3 or 4 years. Who's the big kid that played there for a long time? Roethlisberger. He was pretty good, and they won. They won a Super Bowl. They've been in Super Bowls. The history of what he's done, Dozie, I think he's a great coach. And if I was Mike Tomlin and they said, we don't want you here anymore, then he needs to go to another NFL team, come back, because he'll kick their butt. I like him. I think he's a great coach.
He'd be snapped up the next minute.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh has the wisdom not to do that, but that certainly would have been like you say, just one team wins every year. One team wins.
Yeah.
Coach, I cannot tell you what a great hour this has been. My 94-year-old mother looks at this show religiously. I said, well, Mama, you're probably not going to watch tonight, but it's sports. But it was Dozie's coach. She said, well, I'll look at some of it. So if she does, in fact, miss tonight's show, then I'm going to tell her to go ahead and catch the replay of it or replay it on her own, because this has just been a delightful show, absolutely delightful. And I can't wait to get you back on, and congratulations on that. We'll talk about it more when that time comes. You are so well deserving. And for you all in Dozie land, he left, he coached two teams in Georgia. And I almost wanted to say, we moved here. I don't know if Dozie ever told you, but we moved here from hour and a half out of Chicago. And we lived in Louisville. But I used to wonder, when everybody left here and went to Georgia, who leaves South Florida to go to Georgia? But I understand the housing, the jobs, and I know what coaches and teachers make as a retired teacher. I understand that. Yeah. But for people who think, and I say, man, I guess I just appreciate being able to wear short pants all but maybe 5 or 6 days a year, play golf almost every day out the year. I played in 50-degree weather the other day, which was something for me. I never do that. just love it down here. But to be able to rub shoulders with a legend like this, like you, is an absolute blessing to my life. And I just want to thank you for sharing with our audience tonight on Dialogue with Dozie.
Well, thanks, Dozie. And I am back in South Florida. I live in Fort Myers now. I'm not too far away. So I'm not too dumb to not get back down here when it's, and I'm blessed. My daughter has 3 little ones. My grandchildren are here. And I have retired from football now. I'm retired. I didn't coach this past year, and I was head coach 1 year at Riverdale High School, and we got in the playoffs that year, and I had some medical issues pop up, and I stayed and helped them for a year. And then this year I just said, you know what? I need to get myself right. I'm doing great now. I've lost 50 pounds. I'm walking every day. I'm doing really well. The doctors are happy with me. I'm happy with them, and my wife's happy with me. I'm around the house a lot. Although she tells me sometimes, go play golf. Go.
But we got to do that, Coach. Just don't beat me too bad.
Oh, no.
I remember one day you came to one of our practices and you were just watching, and I looked at you, you were just shaking your head. You said, man, nothing beats the speed in South Florida.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. Speed kills. Speed kills. Coach Hepler, thank you so much. God's blessings to you and your wife, and congratulations on her beating that dreaded disease. I'm a prostate cancer survivor myself, so I understand and just so grateful. Enjoy the game, and I'll look to be seeing you on a golf course soon, and certainly talking to you in the short weeks to come.
All right, Dozie. Thank you so much. I'm sorry all of a sudden Siri started talking over here on my side.
That's all right, Coach.
But thank you for having me, Dozie. Please tell young Dozie I said hello, and I miss him and love him, and all those boys that played at Plantation. Please pass along the hellos to them, and I look forward to seeing them next year at the beginning of the season. And I'll be over there much more this year, coming over and watching some games. And thank you for everything you've done at Plantation. You've been a big part of their success. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. And listen, I got to say this on the way out. One of the greatest gestures I have ever seen, and I didn't know. I knew you were in South. I thought you were down in Fort Lauderdale. I didn't know you were coming from across the state. One of the greatest gestures I have ever seen in the field of sports was one of his pupils. Daryl Strong is the head coach of Plantation. Coach Frank Hepler was there for his first game, the first game of the season, and we're going to show that the next time we're on together. Thank you, Coach. Godspeed and God's richest blessings to you and family.
Thank you, Dozie. Have a great week. We'll talk with you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you kindly.
Good night.
Good night now. And so that's what it is. This is what a great show is like. When you have a great gentleman, not just a great talent, not just a great football coach, but a great gentleman like Frank Hepler on. These are people that God sends your way to be a blessing into your lives. You never know. Don't discount an association, a good relationship. You would have never known from the first time I talked to him about my son playing for Plantation, that the relationship would build, and we would be around talking about plantation football 20 some years later. God bless you. Dialogue with Dozie. Next week, we're going to look very closely at the legacy of Dr. King. We're going to look at some of the tenets of the nonviolent movement and the tenets of the beloved community, of which I still live by working with Faith in Florida and being a democracy fellow. Dialogue with Dozie. We're so glad you joined us tonight. Looking for you next week. Be blessed.